Hi, this is Jason Lisk with PoolGenius, and we are taking a break from our football schedule for the fall because we have the Ryder Cup this week. And I have Andy Molitor on here with me. We're going to break down the Ryder Cup action, what you might partake in as you watch it, who you might be interested in, who might be some sleepers. So we're going to talk through with Andy. Andy's with Betsperts. You might also have heard him on the Deep Dive podcast and other things. But Andy, how you doing today?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, it's nice as we were just talking off air. A lot of work left to be done on this one because I started to dig into DFS and that put my brain in a kind of bit of a pretzel here trying to figure it out because it's a whole different game if you guys bet golf or do golf contests, and it is completely different with this the team play format compared to, you're used to 150 guys in stroke play, and you can go put a bunch of lineups together. This is going to be a unique week, and betting as well. Just with the markets that are going to be offered.
Yeah, 'cause if you're not completely familiar, and most of you are, the Ryder Cup format team event, USA versus Europe, lots of team pairs events early, so we don't know who those pairs are yet. As we record this, we're recording on Wednesday. The Ryder Cup actually starts Friday, and we will only know probably the Friday morning pairings by Thursday night. And so the captains can switch things up. Maybe a golfer isn't playing well. They pull them out of the afternoon rotation. That kind of stuff happens. And so we don't know as we sit here and handicap who will exactly be playing, but we're still going to give you some thoughts on the golfers in the field and kind of what to look for. Before we do that, I do want to mention if you're watching this and you're interested in golf and you want more golf content in the future, hit like and subscribe. And also know that even though we don't have a Ryder Cup product related to this event, since it happens every 2 years and this kind of a one-off special event, we do have golf one and done and majors and masters products for next golf season. So check in January. We start with the Century for one and dones, and we have a product that gives you the full field, the odds, course history, all that stuff. You can have as many entries. I know I play in a ton. I know you do too, Andy. So check all of that out if you are interested, and bookmark that to know the comeback for golf season. But let's get into the Ryder Cup. So, quickly, do you want to go over how you're thinking about these formats, not knowing the pairings, but how you might be betting it and what kind of betting markets you're looking at?
Yeah, it is so much of a guessing game, and I think you just have to start making some good educated guesses on who you think plays the most, who you think plays with some of the guys. Like obviously, Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, they're playing 5 times. You have the two pairings, you have foursomes and four ball on Friday and Saturday, and then you have the individual singles match against one other golfer on Sunday. Like the big guns are going to play 5 times. We saw, we have a little bit of information from 2 years ago. We saw Victor Hovland. He's actually never sat out a match in his two Ryder Cups. So decent chance he plays at least 4 times. He's had a lot of success with being partnered with A Bear last time, and obviously he, just overall success. There's going to be some guys that you just know are going to be out there, but then there's so much middle class here, and you see that, and things can happen. Like you said, hey, a guy goes out and he doesn't play real well an alternate shot in the morning, and you got 4 guys on the bench. Maybe you mix things up if you're a captain because they have some idea who they want to go with in the afternoons, but they certainly have made changes. Like Scotty didn't play all 5 sessions
Right,
last time.
right.
Like I kind of misspoke there. Like he almost certainly will,
Struggled. Yeah.
but he struggled. He got I believe it was Saturday was the big beating, the 9-7, and they ended up just sitting him down in the afternoon, which I don't know that having him play would have gotten the cup for the US anyway, but kind of a strange decision not to have him go out there and go figure it out on the golf course. He's still an amazing golfer. So, but, figuring out maybe who some of the pairings with historically have been with Scotty, with Rory, with Ludwig, with Xander. You got Xander,
Mhm.
like Cantlay isn't a name that's getting a ton of buzz, but he's going to play 4 times. I bet he might play 5. Like it just some of these guys are going to play quite a bit of golf, and you start looking at the odds. Maybe that's a good way to kind of reverse engineer it. Some of these, you go look at some of the odds for how many points each of these players is projected to win. You can start putting two and two together.
Yeah, so you mentioned the max is 5, right? You would have to play 2 rounds on each Friday, Saturday, and then be everybody's in the singles. So, somebody that plays 4 is still playing above average amount. I think typically, as I look back at past Ryder Cups, you maybe have 2 golfers on each side that play all 5. Uh, and typically, if you're kinda handicapping who that might be, obviously the best golfers, but also I think the guys in their prime age-wise. And so you mentioned Hovland. I don't know if they consider Oberg in form, but he fits the age profile of the kind of golfer that they would send out there for 36 potentially, right? Scotty, you would think this has to be his Ryder Cup, like in his prime, like just in a dominant form. And besides him, who in the U.S. would you automatically profile? Maybe Bryson, if you trust him in foursomes, right? Um, but who else on the American team do you think might be in play for all 4 on Friday, Saturday?
Yeah, Bryson's really interesting, and that's the name I was gonna throw out there too, because just with some of these holes, the way they go back and forth, and a lot of people have broken that down. Some good stuff at Data Golf, some good stuff on the timeline. I've just read about, the odds and even holes, because in alternate shot, it doesn't matter if how it works out. If you sink the putt on all 18 holes, it doesn't matter. You are still only teeing off on every other. It is alternate shot truly. So they can align things in a certain way where your stronger long iron player plays certain holes, and maybe the holes where you need the longer drive, we can put our Brysons and our Rorys and things of that nature. So I think it's crazy because people are kind of poo-pooing Bryce a little. Obviously, there's been a lot in the news with him and Brandel sniping back and forth, but he should be great for both formats,
You would
because
think, you
you
would
have your
think.
bomber for alternate shot, you use them on the right holes, and these are, we talked about this with someone. It's like, who are really good wedge players? Well, they all are. Well, I mean, we're down to 24 of the best in the world. Everyone can hit a great wedge. So if you have Bryson and he's really stroking it, you should be able to throw darts short range. And then, like you said, in the four ball in the afternoons, which is, if people don't know, both players will play their ball to completion. It's like 4 golfers golfing with each other on a Saturday afternoon, and then whoever has the lowest score of the 2 players, they take their score. If they tie, obviously, that it is what it is.
Yep.
So, he when he's playing his own ball, and he's obviously long, and he's a pretty good putter. When he's on, he's one of
Oh,
the best
short
putters in
game.
the world, yeah. So, I like him a lot in 4 balls as well, because he can play some high risk stuff. You put him with a
Yep,
steady Eddie, you get him
yep.
paired up with somebody that's just gonna, not make big mistakes and be able to go scramble for pars when they need them. And you let Bryson go out there and try to go destroy the course. And you see that sometimes where we Fitz last year or 2 years
Mhm.
ago, where it's sometimes the guy just is on,
That's
and
right.
it's perfect for 4 balls, because the other guy could just sit back and let that guy keep throwing darts, keep sinking putts, and it doesn't matter who scores as long as the team is continuing to go up a point every hole.
Yeah, so, I mean, the format is, I think, fascinating in some ways, right? Because it's almost like 2 different mentalities, and I'm gonna throw out some stats, and they haven't been kind to the US. The
No.
US has actually had a winning record in 4 ball over the last 10 Ryder Cups. 33, 31, and 16 draws, 16, halves. But in foursomes, the one where they alternate shots, the one where you basically have to rely on your teammate and you're shooting a shot that you didn't hit to get to that point. So there's a lot of, I think, more mentally involved there. US is only 28, 41, and 11 over the last 10 Ryder Cups. That's been their worst relative event. We saw them go 0 for 4 on Friday in Rome in 2023 that really set that tournament off on a bad start. So the foursomes to me is a key to get that right for the US because it's the area where they've generally underperformed relative to the Europeans. Maybe the Europeans have been better at pairing their teams in the past. And so I think the Bryson decision is a fascinating one. We bring him. Who would you pair with Bryson? As we look at that list of golfers, which like is it somebody like a veteran like Harris English, even though maybe he's not your first choice of the top 5 or 6, but would you put somebody with that? Or would it be like somebody's been like a Spawn who can make putts have a certain different element than Bryson does? Who are you thinking?
Yeah, I kinda like that with the Spawn stuff. I don't know who he pairs with. It's
Yeah.
interesting 'cause he's not getting a lot of buzz. He had an amazing year of golf, like, he was
Yes.
nuts in the after was it a double early in that US Open, and then he just put it behind him, and I think that kinda speaks to the mentality of the guy. People talk about this with some of these rookies, like, "Oh, can they handle the pressure of, the country's on their back and the crowd is wild," and all this, like, Spawn kinda has the nuts apparently because, that was more amazing than the last putt was everything in between the double in there where he put himself
Right.
back in contention. So I like that, maybe some of the younger guys that's been a big kind of conversation on Twitter, the last couple days, like, "Oh, you can't do this with a rookie, and you can't put a rookie with this guy." It's like, "Hey, guess what? Like, the old guard isn't playing all that well." Like, you bring JT, I get it. You bring Morikawa, I didn't love it. I get
Yeah.
it. Kinda the same thing goes with Xander, and Xander's been good in this format, but those guys are not playing as well as Griffin, as Spawn, as,
Yeah.
some of these younger players who don't have as much experience, and, like, you kinda just gotta roll some of those young guys out, put them with somebody who's been around the block, and, yeah, I don't mind, like, Ben Griffin with Bryce.
Yeah. Because as we think about it, right, there's 4 golfers sitting for each team in the morning,
Mhm.
4 in the afternoon. They're probably the captains can make whatever choices they want, but we're probably gonna see everybody play on day 1 in one of the 2 sessions. Where do you put people? Like, for me, like Morikawa, I don't want him in the foursomes, right? Where he wasn't in great form, but we know he has a history of being a really good golfer, but I don't want that pressure of you having to meld with a teammate. If you're gonna go get loose, I want you doing it with your own ball in the afternoon. That's kinda my thought with Morikawa, is go see if you can turn it around in this event and get hot, but I don't know that I want you putting you relying on a teammate. Does that make sense? And so what other golfers would you think would be better in one of the 2 events of the Americans?
Yeah, I would definitely sit Morikawa for alternate shot. Like he seems like a good, hey, let's push it to the afternoon. I don't know what to do with Cam Young. He's another one too where he's kind of in that group of names I mentioned there where he's not the old guard. It is what it is with some of the younger players, but certainly in form, he certainly seems to have figured stuff out of late. And I kind of feel like he might need to play 4 times for this. So I
Yeah.
don't know exactly how you wanna
He
pair
can
him,
definitely
but
get hot. I think you want him for sure, I think, in 4 ball,
yeah,
in the best ball,
yeah.
just in case he has one of those heater rounds. And then it's a question of whether you want him also in the foursome pairings.
Yeah, so I do think he and it's tough because they're all such good golfers, but
Yep.
I think he and Morikawa probably get benched in the morning, although there's a rumor out there that we won't see any rookies in the morning session
Okay.
for foursomes, which would be feels like a dumb move on, the US's part if we
I
don't put any of the young like, they gotta play it
I
sometime.
feel
I don't
like
know what you're saving them
yeah,
for.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like some of that's overthought, like, because we can point to many examples where the unknown or the guy who wasn't expected is the one that sparks something because they pull the quote upset in, like, the match play, and the Europeans have done that to us many times, where kind of the guy you would have thought would have been, like, the 10th or 11th on the team was part of a big score, let's say, in the first group out, and so that's a fascinating way to think about it. We've got all these different pairings. We've got all this different potential. We've talked a lot of the Americans. On the European side, who are some golfers that you don't want to see paired together if you're rooting for the Americans to win this?
I am sitting on a few European bets, so I'm
Yeah.
kind of like I'm a little Benedict Arnold this week, such is life. That's how it goes. But I can't believe the numbers you can get on the Europeans and what it's hard to project and it's hard to like simulate something like this, but these teams look awful close. And I know home field is home field, but boy, I think this comes down to the last few matches on Sunday, and nobody should be this big of a favorite. And for them, for Captain Luke Donald, he has the advantage of, hey, we had an amazing team. We had an amazing 3
Mhm.
days in Rome, and I'm basically running it back with the same guys. And, form is form, and it's tough because not everyone's gonna be in great form at the same time, and the Europeans are certainly on a little bit of a different schedule. I did like that Keegan made him go play the Pro Tour out in Napa. I think that just made sense, like, go play some golf together,
Mhm.
make a thing of this. It stunk that they weren't allowed to bring Bryson, but
Yeah.
Them's the rules. He made us bad, so it feels like you're going to get a lot of the same kind of matchups. Like it is going to be similar to 23 in a lot of cases where you probably get some of the Bear Hovland. I don't know the one of the good ones in the morning, like Rom and Hatton. Like
Yep.
that was a fine pairing. Hovland Hatton, that was a fine pairing against JT and Spieth in the afternoon. And even in the afternoon where the US didn't do quite as poorly, all those pairings for Europe kind of seemed to work, and they all felt like they were secondary pairings. Like, hey, we're gonna put McIlroy and Fitzpatrick together and see what happens. And that was like their best team that afternoon. So it feels like it's gonna be a lot of run it back for Luke Donald, and you get some McIlroy Fleetwood. Ah,
Some
God.
probably Lowry. He might pair him with Lowry given how close they are, or do you think they will?
So I wonder about that too, because I don't I'm checking right now. Yeah, he played with Fleetwood twice,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, he didn't end up playing with Lowry last time out, so I'm curious on that. He
Yeah.
ended up in the 4th session, they put, Rose with McIntyre, which was, or excuse me, Fitzpatrick, McIlroy again. They played together twice, and then, um, not Fleetwood Højgaard, different Højgaard, in
Yep.
case anyone
We
thinks
we walked out
we're
the
not
way
running
card.
all 12 back, we're running 11 and a half back for the
Yeah.
Europeans.
So yeah, the lots of here's my thought. I feel like the Europeans, I think the Americans in form have a lot more guys that were in form this summer
Yeah.
with some of the names that haven't been there. But I feel like the Europeans have a lot of guys that I feel like are more like potential 4-round players on like in their prime, young, strong, like the guys like Hovland and Oberg and Rahm and plus Rory, with how good he can be. I mean, I feel like they got more options if they need to just load up and say, "We're going with these guys in the afternoon," to try to come
Yeah.
back for.
And the nature of 4 ball is sometimes it's a heat check. Like, you don't need the guys who are, steady eddies. I'm gonna run through this, and you like how you see it a tough course. Like when we have a very tough course for US Open, sometimes that's how the cream rises to the top because they don't blow up on holes. They save it for the few holes that they're able to score on in these tough US Open courses. It's kind of the opposite of that. This could be a putting contest the way they have this set up. The rough is short, the fairways are wide. It might just turn into whose short game is going to be able to score here. And while the US has the better putters in general, a few guys like Straka, Hovland, Rose even, like they just have really high birdie or better rates when it comes down to it in contests like this, and they can run hot in the 4 balls for sure.
Yep, and so, it's great, like, and then we haven't really touched on Sunday, but here's the thing, we can't predict Sunday. We know all 12 are playing. You have no idea what order they're gonna be put in. It's gonna like, you could get Scotty versus, I don't know, Rasmus Højgaard on Sunday, easily, because you don't know what order the captains are gonna put all 12 in. It may depend on what the scores are at the time, whether they want, I think I suspect they don't want, Tommy Fleetwood going out in the last group on a Sunday because that hasn't worked out recently. But other than that, no idea. I would probably put Scotty in the final group. He tends to do well. But if we're trailing, though, we may have to throw Scotty early, right? You want to set the tone. And so we don't know how Sunday will play out. But we do have some markets. So I'm going to get your thoughts here. I'm looking at DraftKings, for example. They have a top 3 total point score. And so it's some of what we talked
Mhm.
about. Who's going to play the most rounds? Well, up top in the odds are your names: Scotty, Rory, Bryson, and Rahm are the top 4. The guys outside plus 320 and lower, though, are everybody else. And so who would be your picks to be top scorer if we exclude those top 4?
Well, after this morning's news,
Again,
I got a little worried about some of the rookies if they're going to try to avoid them in the morning here because it feels like you need at least 4 to be competitive in that. So, so was this top 3 across all 24 golfers?
yes, across the event, like, so if somebody goes like 4 and 1, they're probably going to be top 3 for sure.
Yeah,
3.5 might get you there, right?
yeah.
Three
Because
and a half points.
early on in the week, I did like Ben Griffin a little bit because I think he's going to have some good pairings. I think he's going to be paired up with some of the complimentary golfers. But if they end up sitting him in the Friday morning, I'm going to be feeling pretty terrible about that bet. So I've looked at Cantlay here. His price is a little longer in markets like this. And he's probably just going to play with Xander a couple times. He's been a good four balls player as well. So I don't mind Cantley as a bit of a long shot. And then, gosh, who was the other one? European wise, it just feels like a lot of guys are playing four matches. And, last 2 years ago, it got a little weird. Ricky was sick, didn't end up playing much because of some illness.
Yep.
So it kind of forced him out and made Zach Johnson's choices a little even tougher. But Fitzpatrick is another one too, where it's like, hey, he played good 2 years ago. He should get rewarded for that. He's actually in form. Like, I kind of like Matt Fitzpatrick. Some Noonan talked me into him a little bit this morning as well. And boy,
Okay.
now I'm kind of looking at the kid.
They're showing plus 1100, so that's one of your better odds. The Europeans, you got Rose, you got Højgaard way down at the bottom, you got Straka way down, and that makes sense. Rose's age, he's probably not going to be pushed to play too many matches. Højgaard, probably the 12th golfer on the team. They're probably not going to rely on him a ton. But yeah, Fitzpatrick's lurking there because he might get a good pairing. I'll give you one on the American side. I think there's a chance Henley is in foursomes with Scheffler. And if that goes well, if you can go 2-0, you're basically piggybacking on the Scheffler ride through two of those. And then you just need him to do well in like singles and maybe play one of the afternoons. And so I would have Henley at plus 500 maybe as one there. And maybe like a Hovland, as you mentioned, 850. Somebody to consider in the top three because we know he's played a lot in the past. And he certainly played on all these courses of the U.S. and he's played here forever. And so I think it's not going to be any kind of course disadvantage for him. And so he'd be in kind of my thoughts there. Well, who are you? So you like the Europeans at the plus number for the overall?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. And there's some handicaps you can bet too. If you the least you can win by is one. It's just how it works. So if you think the Europeans get it done, if it happens, oftentimes these are won by several points. In fact, the average score over the last like 5 is 6.5, I think. So if you don't mind it, that there's handicaps and alt handicaps that I think are a good bet for whatever side you want to bet
Yep.
because it seems like the median difference is going to be 2-3 points here. You can lay 2.5 points and get a much better number. I'm probably going to be doing some of that with Europeans as well.
Well, that sounds good. Yeah, we're gonna close this show. We're gonna have a little draft. I'm just gonna give you some names. You pick one, then I'll pick one out of the group, right? So we'll
Sure.
start off. Should we exclude Scotty or should we include him? You want
No,
Scotty?
put him in there.
Okay, so you get first pick here. Are you gonna take Scotty or are you gonna take Rory, Rahm, or DeChambeau?
I mean, you probably just take Scotty on home
Yeah,
soil.
I think you do. You get the
It's
edge on me.
yeah.
So I'll give you Scotty, and then I guess I'll stay with my American roots here. Well, we'll go Bryson, who can get hot. I'll take Bryson to be on my team. Then that brings us to the next group. I'm gonna go 6 guys here. Okay.
Okay.
Well, actually, there's several in Todd, so we'll go 4. The next group it
Oh,
drops.
tiers,
Next group,
tiers of 4. Okay.
here's a 4.
I didn't
We'll
know
go
if we were
tiers.
doing like a full snake draft. I'm like, am I getting Scotty and Rory? What are we doing?
No, I don't want to. We're gonna shorten the video by a couple minutes, but
Sure.
we'll go tiers of 4 by the odds.
Sure.
Fleetwood, Shoffley, Henley, and Cantley. So you got 3 Americans, and then you got Tommy Fleets in there. Who you want?
I'll take Fleetwood. I think he
Okay.
plays quite a bit.
Yeah. And I already said I liked
I
Henley,
just-
so I'm
and
going
I
to take
just-
Henley out of that group.
I just couldn't take Xander either. Oof.
Next group gets you Cam Young, Hatton, Oberg, and Hovland. So you get the 3 Europeans who we think will be probably in contention to play a lot.
I'd take Hovland out of that group. Just how
Yep.
he's looked, and I like how the course sets up for him as well.
This could go any number of ways, right? Because maybe the crowd throws him off and he cusses him out, or maybe he cusses him out
Yeah.
no matter what. But I'll take Hatton. Why not? Why not take Hatton? He might be the kind that absolutely feeds off of a raucous
I
crowd.
like a hot-tempered guy in this sort of thing.
Yeah. So that brings us to our next group. We start off with Colin Morikawa, who we both had some concerns that he might not go out in the morning, but all these guys might not. Griffin, Morikawa, and Thomas are all at the same price, and then another American, Burns. So this tier has all Americans. So I think they're expecting the Americans to play a bit more evenly, just kind of what I saw probably too, is they probably expect all these guys to play, maybe 3 would be my guess, 2 to
Yeah,
3.
yeah. Griffin's a good upside pick here, though. I think
Yep.
Burns and JT play. They have their matchups kind of figured out. They're going to play a bit, but Griffin could be. Hey, he's playing well, and if he goes out in the morning or even Friday afternoon, he might end up with 4 matches too.
Okay. I will go with I think JT will be in one of the foursomes groups on Friday morning. I'll go with JT to be in that, and if he plays well, he'll continue to play, so you kinda need him to get off to a good start to play, but, I'll take JT there. That brings us to our last. Do we wanna do all 8, or do we just wanna do groups of 4?
Yeah, do the final,
The final 8,
the
so
worst, the terrible players here.
terrible, just
Yeah.
awful. Guys that have made the Ryder Cup, top 10 Americans or Europeans, top 12. What are these guys doing? Robert McIntyre, Fitzpatrick from the European team, Rose, Lowry, Straka, and Højgaard from the European team. And then we have Spawn and English on the American side is kind of the projected 2. English has played in the Ryder Cup before as a veteran. Spawn, of course, a rookie. Who do you like out of this group?
I mean, I did say I liked Fitzy in the betting market too, but man, Spawn to me, I don't understand why he's not getting more hype. Like I just really think this sets up well for him too, and I like his game here, so I'll take him. I think he should play 4 times.
I listen. I'm you took him. I'm rooting for the guy. Right? What a magical season. These are the kind of guys I think when you look back, you're like, I hope he has a great Ryder Cup to cap off what was such a great unexpected year. He went head to head with McIlroy, lost. I mean, the guy has had stones and played tough on tough moments this year. I mean, he's been in it, so I like that pick. I will go. Man, I'm trying to decide between McIntyre and Fitzpatrick because I think they're both probably going to play 3 matches on the first 2 days and then be in a head to head. I'll go with McIntyre instead of Fitz, just for fun. Throw in a McIntyre, throw in a Scotsman in there. So that's our picks as we went down a snake draft style and the kind of snake draft. We assumed there were other drafters getting them besides us, and so we took our 5 guys. But we'll see who comes out on top in points. And it's great to have you on, Andy. Thanks for joining me. Anything else you want to pitch for football season? I know you're in our Survivor Bowl survivor. You have any strong thoughts this week on Buffalo to close out? I know people play in all sorts of contests. Are you
Yeah,
saving them or are you using them? What are you
it
doing in Survivor?
it depends on the survivor because I'm in a splash one that has like double weeks from week 12 on. That's tough. Like that takes a little extra mapping. So I might have to
Mhm.
save Buffalo there for some stronger weeks later on. But yeah, there's not a ton on the board for Survivor that is super exciting and jumping off the page because a lot of the favorites are, you know, at on the road. And then how much do you trust Houston, who is a 7-point favorite, but looks like absolute garbage on offense for the most part? It might just be like, whatever. It's the Tennessee fade. Where else am I gonna use Houston? So,
That's right.
Houston and Buffalo obviously high on the list for me this week with, maybe a possibility of Denver as well. Although that's another one where Bo Nix might suck, and it's not great getting in bed with a bad quarterback in Survivor.
Well, there you go. You got your breakdown of the Ryder Cup. We got some NFL Survivor thoughts from Andy. Good luck with your week. Hope you're in both and hope you come out on top if you're betting this thing, if you're playing DFS, if you're engaging with guys at the clubhouse. Maybe you get it. Maybe you can squeeze around in super early if you can beat everybody off the course, or you can just go out late if you're on the West Coast. So enjoy your weekend, enjoy the Ryder Cup, and thank you for listening.